What's up, everybody? How are you? What's going on? Real Talk Chronicles is in the building. It is Monday, November 7th. Can you believe that? November is flying. We just had Halloween for what it meant to you. Happy Halloween or post Halloween, stuff like that. Uh, Halloween is cute, just as long as people know how to act. I don't have a problem with it. Um, what's gonna say? I just hope everybody's doing well and being careful out there. Just shout out to all the birthday people. Anybody that's having a birthday. My wife, she's a Scorpio, so of course she had a birthday. So you know what that means. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just so happy to be here. This is Real Talk with Assemblyman Al Taylor, and Wendy is in the building. So we will be talking. Of course, we will be definitely talking about elections tomorrow. Wherever you're calling from, how important it is to voting for the person that you want. It's a big thing. We'll let Al and Wendy break that stuff down more importantly about the Democrats and the Republican situation. We're going to discuss also, too, what's more important to you? What's going to sway your vote? Is it public safety? Is it Roe versus Wade? Is it you're just tired of the Democrats, or you don't want the Republicans in? What's going to be your deciding factor? We'll let you, the listeners, definitely speak on that. Without further ado, I got to bring. First, not forget the sponsors: Deadly Arts of Survival, Reggie Wells, Soft Illusions, Melba Wilson, Leon Ellis, Chocolat, Ingram Taxes. Always, we got to shout those people out. It's always keeping me in their prayers and helping us stay afloat and everything. And of course, I said Reggie Wells Quality Speakers. And without further ado, I got to bring my man in, the Assemblyman Al Taylor. What's up, brother Al? Unmute yourself, baby.
Trying to get my mic open. Mic sound nice.
Yeah.
Brother Bill, how are you? Good evening.
Welcome. I'm good. How you feeling, brother? How you doing?
In the house. Where's the first lady, man?
She's moving around. She just got in. I have to say, I like the salt. I like the salt, brother. You looking good, man.
1 2 mic sound right. Yeah, it is. Good evening. Great to be here tonight. We weren't able to get together last month. I think we weren't able to pull it. This is an interesting one. The day is long and is a long way from being over, and it starts early. Polls open at 6 a.m. if you have not had an opportunity to vote. In New York from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. I think New Jersey is 6 to 8 p.m. or something like that. I think nationally we're up to about 40 million people have voted, depending on whose report that you want to believe. It's interesting where there were some folks that said that we couldn't trust the previous numbers or the voice of what the people had to say. But they're touting those things as success today. It's an interesting time, whether you're independent, whether you're Democrat, or whether you're just somebody sitting on the sideline cynically saying it ain't going to make a difference. These are interesting times. I'm glad to be here. Welcome to the Bill Foster, Al Taylor. You know what it is right now. It's Real Talk, Chronicle Real Talk. There's no script. You get what you get.
Absolutely. And, before we really get into it and, we bring Wendy in, I know Wendy's monitoring. Everybody, I think you might see the link on Facebook. We'll share it later. But everybody, it's a YouTube thing right now, hard body. Facebook did something different. My wife, Malika, always says, stop telling people that. But it is what it is. So it just propelled me to stay on YouTube. So you have to sign in to YouTube to see the comments and questions and everything. What's up, Wen? Oh, there you are. Exactly. So everybody, we'll look at the comments and questions and we'll share it later on so you can see it on Facebook. I did something. It might be able to see it, but we're not really conversing with you on Facebook. So come to YouTube and chop it up with us. You got us live for a strong hour. What's up, Nicole? How are you? I'm driving, but listening. I appreciate that. So we're going to talk about what's at stake, Al, and like I said before, we bring Wendy in, and enlighten the people on why they should vote for their political party, which is a Democrat for you, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that whether people are independent, whether they're whatever political affiliation they're in, they should cast their vote. And whether it's for me or whomever, when you think about the folks that literally died, that were hung from trees because they dared to exercise the right to vote, I think it's imperative that we lend our voice, wherever we're at in the spectrum, because in a general election, everybody that's a registered voter is allowed to participate. And it comes down to you wanting to exercise your civic engagement, your civic duty to vote, period.
Right.
You know, whether you like it, you don't like what's out there, you know, go to the polls and write your name in. It's more important than that. But the idea that you would not exercise that vote where people are dying, coupled with the fact that there is a move across this nation to reduce the people that can actually go to vote. So, for example, it's nothing in New York City to see a long line of voters as we've seen over the years, and someone out there giving out water, giving them something, offering them a cheer, just want to be considerate as they wait. In some states, that is illegal and considered electioneering. So I can't give you water as a priest, as a reverend, as a monk, in whatever religious background I find myself and feel compelled to give you something. I can't do it. So I think we ought to vote just to register that we are there.
Because now, let me ask you a question. Why did they stop that? Or has that always been in practice?
Why did they stop what?
Giving water and stuff like that? Because I mean, I've been on the line one time and the person was like, "Oh, you can't do that." I was like, "Yo, get out of here!" You know what I'm saying? The Harlem in me was like, "Yo, get out of here!"
I mean, that is, I believe that's happening in the state of Georgia. Mm-hmm. The idea is to walk back, and that's just one of the more glaring things. There's so many things like, well, if you've ever been arrested, don't come here. So New York allows you to be arrested, serve your time, come out, and still have a right to vote. There are other states that won't allow you to vote. And this is 2022. And people don't know that. I mean, when you talk about fear, I am who I am. I am a New York State Assembly person. I am a Democratic elected member of the New York State Assembly. But I want to talk from the perspective that let's stay wide awake. Whether you like our policies, whether you don't like our policies, I want you to look behind the veil and see what's going on. There's truth to some and there's merits to some, but then sometimes there's not. If you are familiar with the Willie Horton story, and Bush played that card in the 80s, he took someone that was the most notable person there was, and he had a history of murder, and they just used him across the globe to pump fear into America, especially white America, especially a conservative America, and even those of Black folks that were conservative that have moved were buying into the narrative. And so what you have here is nationally there is a fear across America, and there's one party that pushes that, real or unreal, the same way that one party pushed bail reform, and they said, look what you did because of bail reform. But if you look across, and I've always made this this distinction here on Real Talk, is crime is up across America. It had nothing to do whether you were in whatever city, white, Black, brown, orange, crime is up across the board. The levels of crime are different. Murders may be down, gun shooting may be down, but there's still a lot of assaults that are there. But crime is out there, and it's happening in places where there was no bail reform. And I always try to detach that and say, can we go back and fix something? Possibly, but don't use that as a narrative to say New York State is shot out, New York City is shot out because we did bail reform. Then what would be the reason that we would accuse these other states that have an influx of crime equally? Just a thought. I'm rambling here on Real Talk.
No, well, this is your show, brother. So you're supposed to ramble and say what you feel and talk about it, because I mean, the bottom line is, we have Hogle and we have the I forget the guy. What's his name? Les Zeldin or is
Zeldin?
Zeldin, yeah. Who else is running in New York? that we can pay
So
attention
on the top of the ticket, you have the governor, you have the lieutenant governor, you have the attorney general, and you have the New York state senators. So the New York state senators, U.S. senators, is Gillibrand and Schumer, Chuck Schumer, and Gillibrand. And the governor, of course, is Kathy Hochul,
Mhm.
and your lieutenant governor is Antonio Delgado, and on the attorney general, it's Tish James. So that's the top ticket, and then you just go down from there.
And then,
Um,
of course, we have Atlanta, in
oh,
Pennsylvania, we have Oz, and Kamala Harris, the vice president, said all we need, and she's speaking from her mouth, from her mouth to my ears, to everybody's ears. I didn't want, when I said all we need, I didn't want to sound like I was the. I mean, I have my view, but I just wanted to tell people, I want everybody's opinion tonight. She said all we need is, I think, to keep two Democratic seats. Am I correct, for them to? And she said the president will overturn, I think, Roe versus Wade or something like that, or he would look for that stays, because I think, of course, now it's a problem. I mean, I see people chiming in, and when I say chiming in, I saw somebody put on social media. I copied it, and I want to read it. I thought it was something that some people should take heed to. They said, when your Social Security is gone, when your daughter bleeds out from a miscarriage because of anti-abortion laws, when you can't marry who you love or get compensation, when Christian nationalism takes over America. But remember, you voted based on the gas prices.
I love that comment.
Yeah, that was deep. I thought that was very deep.
Big shout out. Big shout out to that person that wrote that.
Yeah. I really was like, wow. I wanted to read that, because I think for those, there's a lot of people that are scared. They're going, like you said, you mentioned crime earlier, but everybody is talking about the changes in laws and stuff, and they're afraid. So what's the narrative a person is going? Some people are going to run to. A lot of people are talking about, the red might have a clean sweep because just crime. People are talking about the debate. They're talking about what the governor was telling Les Zeldin, like I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly what she said. Like something like, why are you stressing out, or why are you painting too much picture of crime? Like, crime is very important. You know what I'm trying to say? Like,
oh, no question, no question.
Yeah. So I thought that was like, did she just step on the tack? You know what I'm saying?
I think if you're looking at the ads that they run, remember they're edited ads. So, for example, if I said, I love your twin brother, but he's a jerk, so they won't get, I love your twin brother. They're gonna say, and he's a jerk, and then you put that there. So there was, and I watched the debate, and I know where they took some of that comment from. But she wasn't saying, my takeaway wasn't that wasn't the argument, and he's spinning it. But at the same time, what we want to be mindful of is the most aggressive gun laws that we could have changed on a national level to tie these weapons that are being used in mass destruction by kids that are buying them and going out and killing. He did not vote on that. He's the same guy that said January 6th was good, and we needed to do that because the people that were voting where it was rigged. So now he wants to be your governor.
Yeah. And listen, let me just say this.
Yeah.
When I heard that he wanted to overturn the presidential voting thing, I was like, okay. And then, like you said, he's talking about January 6th. So this dude got a lot of stuff with him too. You know what I'm trying to say?
No question. If you're not engaged, if you're not listening, if you're not connecting the dots, you're going to buy the shiny car without an engine, because it looks pretty, it's shined up, the armor all is on it. And I'm not saying in a negative to anybody that is part of the Republican Party, but this man stood with and agreed that the election that took place for Biden and Trump was a farce, and that he was illegally there and was down to do whatever was necessary to uproot this country. If he was willing to do that on a national level, we're in trouble if we allow him into New York State. That's me. Right. But at the end of the day, I put my head down and go to work. If that's what everybody wants, and they will have to reap what they sow.
Absolutely.
And if you stay home and said, I don't want to have anything to do with it, that's exactly how Trump got in, because people are like, well, I'm not going nowhere. And let me tell us black folks, we never get a fair shake. We never get a fair shake. When I say we never get a fair shake, we are always appearing to be an afterthought about somebody else. Now, when they were winning, I'm going to keep it 100. I stand with and I will support and vote for Hochul. But at the same time, they have to walk back and come in here and put some real meat on the bone for black people, Latino people, to make sure that we don't have what just happened in the last 6 months happen again. I know she was appointed because he stepped down, but we have to have some real working relationship so that we're not, at least we don't appear to be an afterthought when you're quoting our vote. You
Absolutely.
feel me?
Absolutely.
So, and I don't know that they have it all together. I was talking to someone and they said, what do you think about this election? I said, it's dismal. There's no synergy. There's no energy. I don't see it on the streets. And there's a very good chance that she could lose if we don't step it up. Yeah. And the voters that are going to be the strong voters are going to be your prime voters. Those are your seniors. Those are the ones that have done this at least 4 times. That's a prime voter. They had 2 or 3 general elections already, and you can count on them. But the seniors are going to vote. They're voting because they understand the cost of Medicaid. They're going to vote because they understand they don't need their Social Security to be taken away. So and then you have the newcomers. They're there, the new arrivals, but their vote is not as consistent. And then you have a lot of independent voters that have not been counted that are out there. It's a mess out here. We got a lot of work to do, and I don't think that we're going to get it done overnight, and one party's necessarily the ideal utopia, but we have to work with what we have here. And when you look at a man like Zeldin that believes that the votes that Biden and Trump participated in that election should have been thrown out, they were ready to go in and harm people, that's a problem.
Right.
And when you look at what they did, Bill, I'm sorry, when you look at what they did, and the amount of security that did not exist there versus how they treated the Black Lives Matter movement when they were a few months earlier.
Yeah.
You thought that the Black Lives Matter movement was there to start a war. They had every type of ammunition and security in place with no real threat.
Yeah.
And they knew this was going to be difficult.
Listen, everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. That's Assemblyman, our co-host, Assemblyman Al Taylor. I'm Bill Foster, and we got Wendy in the building, always holding it down from all standpoints. What the vice president said is, she said, if we elect 2 more Democratic United States senators, President Joe Biden will sign the protections of Roe versus Wade into law. That's being quoted. I'm reading from her page right now. So people have a lot to say, and I co-sign it. We need to definitely do what we have to do as people. What you out there, Vivian said, you're absolutely correct, Assemblyman Al Taylor. You have to understand, everybody out there, what is important to you. What do you want to see done? Like I said, the Republicans, like the police unions and the detective endowment are going for Zeldin, and I mean, they've always voted Republican. I've never seen them anyway vote Democrat. I've also had people tell me that this is probably like, how you said earlier too about there's no zest and no fever in this. Mm-hmm. I think everybody feels, excuse me, I should have said everybody. A lot of people feel that, is this the best in all cities and states? Is this the best that we have to choose from? You know what I'm saying? And like,
absolutely.
Yeah, like there's a times when before Al, there's we have this mature age that we have. And Wendy, I think you do too. You know what I'm saying? At this mature age that we can remember at sometimes there was always a like a landslide, like, oh, I know I like him because or she, because they gonna do this and they're gonna do that and that do that. Right now, it seems like wherever you are, like we could talk about Walnut and Herschel Walker, like dude, like you have a guy that supposedly is against pro-choice, but he has had 2 abortions. And women have come out and said that he has 2 abortions. Mm-hmm. And it seems like the red are like, so I don't care. Like, go ahead.
I mean, but that's on that point right there. Remember, you're absolutely 100,000% right. Because no matter what happened, let's walk this back to 2016. When Trump announced that he was going to run for president, he opened the floodgates to some of the most horrendous comments and disrespect about people like never, ever before. The paraplegic. He made fun of everyone that didn't agree with him. He even went so far as to say, I think he must have took that line from Humpty Hump. He said, you grab him in the biscuit, but I grab him in the front.
Yeah.
The mic is hot. The reporter gets fired. And every time you look, he's like, yo, this has got to be the one that's going to do him in. This has got to be the one where people are going to turn their back and say, enough of this guy. But the more hideous he became, the larger in life he became. He didn't even have to use campaign money as he started to walk because there was a lawsuit against NBC for dropping him. He was making media news just by the foolishness that was coming out of his mouth. And so then when it was time to, when he became the candidate of the Republican Party, it was easy. So to your point, every time you think, oh, this has got to be the worst thing in America still. And just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, January 6th, they wanted to kill Pence and Pelosi, and they didn't have any problems about it. And we was like, surely this is going to be a day of reckoning. It stopped for like 7-8 hours. I can't remember. But then they go back in, and then they have a point where they have the hearings, and everybody dummies up. Like, yo, it wasn't the bad. One guy said it was just a regular day in Washington, just like any other day. But nobody would step out and say whether it's right. That's a problem. That's the problem that I see in America. Everything else, it just falls away because I can't get past that pill.
No, absolutely. And just like I just posted, I love some of the memes that are coming out. A friend of mine posted, and I said I'm reposting this. It said, "Storm the ballot box like they stormed the Capitol January 6th."
Woo! Fire.
Right? Like that's straight fire. That's straight fire. So I mean, people, like I said, no matter who you are going for, please get out and vote tomorrow. I really have a problem with people that have said they don't vote, because whomever you didn't vote for or you didn't vote for at all, if you had a favor, a choice, you voted for the other person when you didn't vote, whether it's the red or the blue. Whomever you didn't vote for, whoever you didn't vote for, if you have to vote, that's your right. I mean, we need to understand. Wendy, I want to bring Wendy in for a second. And Wendy, can you give me your take on why voting is important to you?
It's our power.
Right.
And so I think what we find in our communities a lot of the reasons when you ask people, hey, are you registered to vote? No, and I ain't voting either. Mm-hmm. I used to get upset saying, hey, you can't complain about things if you don't put your voice in it. But what I've learned is that a lot of people are hopeless, right? They've been promised so many times, so many things, so often that they don't understand that times have changed. And it's up to us to educate and empower our people to explain why their voices are so important and the power that they bring in. When we elect our local elected officials, These are the people that bring our resources. These are the people that bring what we need. People like Al Taylor, who will stand up and say, hey, don't just come here when you want something. You need to come here and bring resources to our communities. So that's how it happens. It happens by all of us getting out there and voting. So like tomorrow, my sons and I have a plan. We vote on election day. We usually don't vote early because it's part of our civil responsibility. This is how we're able to, get trash cans in our corners, get buses that run frequently and that are clean. That's where these things come from. So when we complain about the little things that we see every day, these are the people that help us make those things go away. So that's why it's important for me to vote. And I think that's why it's important for all of us to vote.
Let me ask both of you a question. And what I don't know, Wendy, and I'm only asking, I don't know if you have an ear to the street in this regards. What are you hearing from the Latin community?
Not very much, honestly.
Right.
But part of the reason for that is because I spend a lot of time in Harlem.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I will tell you this. We were uptown with the Latin community on Friday, and the energy was strong.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were in the space that we were in, but, are we preaching to the choir?
Right. Al, let me ask you this question. I mean, you can answer because I know you cover all the way up there, the Dykeman too, and stuff like that. But what are you getting? I know you were saying earlier that the energy is not the same, but from the people that you have engaged, do you feel like they are going to vote no matter what their ethnicity is? You're muted.
I believe the prime voters are going to vote.
Right.
My senior citizens are voting. I've been in senior center facilities rooms. Let me correct that. Older adults are going to be voting hard, and they're not going to in the Black community and Hispanic community. I don't believe they're going by paper early in this instance. They want to make sure that their physical vote work, that it's counted. Not that the paper doesn't, but they have a disconnect with believing that the paper is stronger than that ballot. So they want to go in, and whatever it looks like to go in and vote, they're going to vote. Those numbers are going to surge. What I believe happening is the folks that I'm talking to, I'm going to say the Black folks I'm talking to, educated and a part of the process in some shape, form, or fashion, have been feeling some kind of way of late, clergy included, in terms of how the operation worked. So, and I hope people can appreciate this. We are always conciliatory. We want to be appeasing to some degree. And it's kind of like you and I can have our differences, but we will do real talk. Even if we have to have it in its space, we're going to continue on. Absolutely. And sometimes family have to do that. And when you look at the campaign that the governor has run and her people has run, it has not been one that I would have preferred to see, and I'm not alone. However, that's not just cause to not reelect her.
Absolutely. I got you.
And take Zeldin on the other side. So I think that there are a lot of folks that are going to do it. But what I miss, of my years of doing this is that synergy in the street. Not that she even has to be there, but you see, it's almost like, okay, when Halloween's coming, when Thanksgiving coming. And soon as that doggone parade shows you, as soon as you see Santa Claus, you already know shopping is going down. Everybody's preparing for Christmas. And there seems to be a lack of preparation to galvanize people. That's the long of what I was trying to communicate. But the consistent ones understand I didn't get stroked or loved and appreciated the way I like it, but I'm still going in there. But baby, when you get home, when I get you in the car, we're going to talk about this. You know what I mean? But we cannot not do it.
I have a question I want to ask you, Al. For those that a voting Republican because they're thinking crime. What can that governor really do if he's elected in changing the laws?
It's not a one and done. So, for example, you can hold up the budget. You could throw a couple other different things in there until you get what you want. You have to make sure that the Senate doesn't flip, because if the Senate flips, then everything that we're doing on the Assembly side is just an exercise, because it doesn't go where it needs to go. You need the two houses and the governor to sign where you're going. But if the Senate becomes Republican, the governor's Republican, Republican, then the Assembly is the only stronghold Democrats. But we're not getting anything done. So the way that we were able to approach and bring resources during COVID and all these other things, the strengthened gun laws that we do have happened because we were able to do it with a Democratic governor and a Democratic Senate. So we were able to bring housing relief. I'm just trying to come off the top of my head, but it's a monumental housing laws that people didn't think would ever happen, and we basically shut stuff down. And you're able to accomplish that. In this instance, if he becomes the governor and you lose your Senate, it's a fight every step. It's a dark place to be.
So this is people are more fearful of that too, in a point of just losing the Senate. Exactly. I mean, besides,
I don't know, Bill, that most people understand what is at play here. It's like we like Bill. We like Bill. They're gonna say we like what Zeldin's saying. Yeah, that's right. But the back end, like he said, I'm gonna call a moratorium. We're gonna do this on crime. He doesn't do any of these things. And remember, we have to give him executive privilege to do certain power to do certain things. He can't just walk stuff back. But he's in a good place to dry you up until it starts to happen.
Yeah, so it's almost like twisting your arm until you say uncle. Huh.
Yeah, and even more than that. So resources. So if we're bringing money for heat, if we're bringing money for food, if we're bringing money, those social programs that we're funding that they say, oh, there's not enough of this, he's going to dry that up to every extent that he can. So you talking about, what about these after school programs? We talk about how do we stop crime? We're trying to bring people together. You would lose all those violent interruption programs that are coming in on a state level, because that's not his agenda at all. At all. So it's more than just, I like what he's saying. We're going to be screwed unless you're at the top of that meat chain on his end. You're not going to see the benefits of it if you're on the Democratic side. And if you're regular Joe going to work, you're going to catch it. That's my opinion.
No, and I appreciate that. And that's why you hear, and I always, it's so important. Like when we text, I told you, I said, we definitely talking about this because this is something that you can enhance and then give us all knowledge for those that don't have on the political aspect, because you're around a lot of these people. I know you don't like to call yourself a politician. I know that. So I won't use that terminology with you. I won't use that terminology with you, but you are a person of voice, and you have a lot of people's people. A lot of people have your ear, I should say, in lieu of just conversing with you. I think that as they say, that false narrative. Now, see, that's the trick. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Stefania. And Stefania is a person that, I'm glad she's chiming in. She's here now. That she's the person that we talked about, and she said in another show that I'm not trying to throw her out there, but she's saying she thinks that it might be a clean red slate, a sweep, because in her mind, correct me if I'm wrong, Stefania, I don't know what everybody else out there, I don't know what would be your deciding factors in who you vote for. I would like you to chime in if it's gun, crime, if it's abortion, whatever it is that is going to persuade you to vote red or blue or independent, whatever it is. Stefania was saying that crime is very, prevalent to her. But like you were saying right now, he's saying that he can do this, but he can't come in. But then if you don't vote for his way, then he's going to strong arm you another way, like taking away food for the elderly and things of that. So You're muted. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. The fight is real. All we have to do is go back and look and see what we did in the last 3 years. And at the end of the day, folks, I always want to be 100% with you all. Total. I love my job. I'm not in love with the job. And if I'm an obstacle and need to go, I can rock with that. But at the end of the day, if we look at what has happened in the last 3 years across the board, how were you able to get your unemployment benefits? How were you able to bring funding to people that stayed home and they were able to be made whole and be able to still get back in the game? How were people not able to be put out of their homes during COVID when landlords were like, get them out, get them out, get them out? We put in some hard work, and you couldn't do that if you had a Republican Senate. So in one instance, Bill, I remember there was a people group, they were undocumented. So everybody can tell you what a gig worker is. If they don't know what a gig worker is, everybody knows about Grubhub. Those are the people on the bikes, the little mopeds. And there's a whole industry that was birthed out of COVID. And they were able to bring food. But these things were underwritten by dollars, making it possible for restaurants to stay open. It was also made possible because unemployment checks were coming to you while you were still home. There was a whole support system that was put into place. And we did it with a fight. But the one thing I wanted to drop was, let's say we did $79 billion in relief, unemployment, food, not the part that's subsidized by the government, but New York State, $79 billion. Billion, right? I think that was the number. If I'm wrong, I apologize. Maybe it was $1 million. But no, it was $1 billion. It was $79 billion. And what we tried to do was, and we were successful, we wanted to now give money to undocumented workers. So if you were on a bike and you were delivering meals and you no longer could do that, but you're undocumented, there was no way to get any kind of relief. You got no food stamps. You only got what you could get if you hit a pantry or something like that. So across this state, that came to like, I don't know, $17 million. I can't remember the math. But do you know, not only did the Republicans not want to do it, but you had some conservative Democrats who were afraid of losing their seat because it looked like they were giving money to undocumented. But these people were the backbone of our economy. They were the ones that were feeding us, but couldn't get anything themselves. And we were saying, how can we not do this? I was so discouraged, but I understand. Some people in those kind of blue, orange, purple states, communities where they're more Republicans and they're kind of like super conservative, they wanted to hold their seats. But the idea that you would stop a mother, a child, a father from having any forms of resources just because. And here's the thing that really ticked me off. The ground conversation, down in the boiler that way it was saying, Bill, was like, well, we don't really want to do this. We ought not to be doing this. But if we must do this, what can you give me so I can go back to my people and say, I did this, but this is what I got. Meanwhile, we've given $79 billion in this state to relief around this state. And you're saying you would deny them that because you didn't want people to think you were soft in that area and you needed something else to take home with you. That was the most self-centered, selfish stuff I ever heard in my life. And these were my colleagues that were on the Democratic side. Wow. It was real talk. Go back and look at some. Oh, you can't look at those. This was our conference, so it wasn't there. But if you find the footage when we were debating this stuff on the floor, everybody had something to say. Or you just look at where their vote went. You'd be surprised. So when we talk about democracy and Democrats that are in some of these regions that want to stay in, they'll flip to make sure they keep their seat. I'll bounce rather than sell out. So when people was talking about, you got to do this, you got to do that, and we're working with the governor, they wanted to do two things. They wanted to do bail reform, and they wanted to do this other thing. And I was like, why is she shoving that down our throat at this point? But meanwhile, you couldn't get to the budget until you dealt with that. So they hold up the budget, and the budget becomes late because we need you to do this, or you tie your money to the budget. You tie policy to the budget. It happens all the time. But I'm just saying.
So it's playing chess and checkers with rules and regulations. Let me read something. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host, Assemblyman Al Taylor, and we have Wendy in the building. Stefania says, and I want you to kind of comment on this topic, exactly what she's saying. She says, also, I think that a lot of people are frustrated with the migrant situation, not because they don't want them here, but because they're getting so much help. Meanwhile, there's homeless people, vets, etc., and they have not gotten any half of that aid that currently is being provided to migrants. Questions, comments? Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I was just with the commissioner a couple of days ago, and it was asylum seekers. Senator Cordell Clear held it. I was there. The commissioner was there. And Wendy, if you have the information, throw it in the chat, because there are jobs they're hiring. And the hiring is to help push out the 311 ID that people have, so they can go out to sites and actually give people that. I have, again, and we talked about this, it's kind of like what I just talked about with the undocumented migrants that are here serving and couldn't get anything. Mm-hmm. We have to say, hey, let's make them whole too. They should get something. So to the people that are coming here, I think the unfortunate part is that we're now pitted against them. We're just like 2 nickels and a dollar above where they're at. And I'm being facetious right there. So when you look at the people that are here, I want you to just see the journey. And I'm always cognizant of it. And I'm not saying other people don't have a story, but when you look at the people that had come from these different countries to come across that border, some of them died, some of them committed suicide, some of them were raped, some of them were maimed. So it wasn't just a walk across a border. And the option was this: you could go back where you came from, back across that border, or you could get on a bus to New York. And a lot of them didn't even want to come to New York. They wanted to go other places because they had family. But the democratic process worked like this. The Republicans, governors from Florida and from Texas sent them to New York to send the message. So we're now fighting over that crumb. The crowd got bigger for the crumb, and we haven't even got a whole slice of bread in the beginning. So I do understand that frustration. But keep in mind, it appears like they're getting more than they actually are. Take a walk through there, see what is actually happening. There is some what's the word? There is shelter, but it's not what you would want to get to say, this is what I have for me. But it sounds better than it looks. Take a look, take a walk through there. And the other question is, what would you have us do with them? Because the Republicans are saying, y'all got so much love for everybody here. And they're sending them there against their will, and they're taking their papers. So they don't have right documents. It's a crying shame how our government is allowed to do that to people. And then they get us to come and fight. Right. Or y'all gonna fight with each other. In a way, we're gonna love on them, but we're gonna feel some kind of way. They want us to feel some kind of way. Mm-hmm. Now, you know what's gonna happen? Not only is there crime everywhere, but you're feeding people and you're not even feeding me. I'm going with the Republicans, but the Republicans created the narrative, if you would. So
that's real talk. Yeah.
If you don't take care of them, who's going to help them? And I'm of the context that says, when I was living in, I didn't know we were poor, Bill. I didn't know we were poor until I was like 20, because I went to school, I had school clothes. Then I came home, where we call play clothes. You put on your play clothes and you go outside and shoot loadies. And you have some fun. You get on your knees, and the pants look like knee knockers because they were, whatever it was. And then you change. And then every year we went to school, we got new clothes at the beginning of school. You was fresh. I didn't know that I was coming from a poor complex until I joined the military. I was like, let me get that car over there. I said, you can't afford it. I was like, come on, it was a hoopty. And I couldn't afford it. But I don't want to be dismissive, but we got to figure out how to pull it together, because in the short end, that family, that is going to be the future of our country. They're going to remember the ones. And there's a text. When I was hungry, you clothed me. When I was hungry, you fed me. When I was hungry, you fed me. When I was naked, you clothed me. And when I was incarcerated, you visited me. There's a responsibility, regardless of what your faith is, that leads us to be helpful to other folks. And if we don't do it, you better doggone sure believe they ain't going to do it, because if they were, they would not have put those people on buses and sent them here to New York like that. They went to send the message.
And that's real talk. Stefania, I don't know if Al added clarity. I just wanted to put that in the universe because you made an excellent point, and that segued into that question because you're right. People are what's going on, Colin? People are really upset. I mean, we're the land of the free and the home of the brave, and we're supposed to be open to everybody. Like I had a conversation with somebody, and I said, you kind of sounding like you don't like the migrants and stuff like that, but are you going to do the work that they're doing? You know what I'm saying? Are you going to do these jobs? Mm-hmm. Who's going to do it? So, and then I had also said, well, I said we none of us are from here. You know what I'm saying? None of us are really from here. Mm-hmm. We're all been shipped and packed and forced to be here at certain times in our ancestral lives. So I just think there's so many things out there, and everybody, this is real talk. I'm not, Al's not, Wendy's not telling you who to vote for. All we're just telling you to is vote. You're going to make up your mind. It's your decision. I think the fact that the city has changed, and we're speaking about New York specifically. I mean, like Al has stated along, and if you don't know, do your due diligence. Crime is happening in all the cities, all over the world. It's not just New York. It's all over. It's red and blue. Mm-hmm. So don't let anybody tell you that narrative. But do you feel the laws have gotten lean? Do you think voting red will make them strong again? Do you feel blue? There has to be change. I think, like I said, public safety is important to those. Like you said, funding, Al, is important, mm-hmm. that you mentioned earlier.
Absolutely.
For our senior citizens and our elderly, things of that magnitude. Like you said, there's not really a big buzz. I hear more buzz about what's happening in Georgia and Pennsylvania than I hear in New York, and that's crazy to me. I haven't got the fluctuation of vote for me mail.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I haven't.
And you referenced something about finances. So there were 3 bills that Zeldin could have voted that would have strengthened the gun laws in our country. So AKs, that young man that got that assault weapon and killed would not have been able to purchase. Then there was also a bill on the floor in Congress where they were able to vote and give more money for law enforcement. He was a no-show for that. So the guy is talking. It's like you. I can Willie wang myself through a lot of stuff. I'm like, yo, yeah, word, son, right. Yo, my man, absolutely, yeah. You got it, baby. But I'm not being held to any standards. You're not looking at anything that I've accomplished in or said or didn't do. It's just like, yo, he sure looks smooth to me. And he's got it. I mean, easy. It's like it's a no-brainer. You live in America. We're in one of the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Even right here, we're on a platform where we can see and talk to each other. Man, mm-hmm. I can show you any horrendous, whatever I want you to see. And like, it's horrible, right? You're like, yo, man, they show you stuff from other countries, other states. And you're, and it didn't even happen. At one time, I think he had to pull something because he ran an ad from somewhere else. But we buy it. Jim Jones Kool-Aid, we're not drinking it, folks. We're not drinking Jim Jones Kool-Aid. We are better informed, and I thank God for this format, and we're able to have these conversations. Sometimes it's kind of like family. We're in here and we talk like, yo, I'm feeling some hard way. But it was like, yo, word, so I didn't want to say, well, yo, that was right. And we have these conversations, and we put information out there, as my brother Bill say, in the atmosphere, but what are we doing with it? So, and when you look at it, it's like, well, you know what? I want a brand new car. Yep. The guy's going to give me a brand new car. I got a Maserati, and it is laid out, and it's not gas. I use electric. Okay. Now, how you going to pay for that thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know about that, man, but yo, it's fat, son. Yo, it's looking good. I ain't got to worry about, I'm not polluting. Nah, because you're going to sleep in that damn thing because you got to figure out how to pay for it because you can't pay rent and stay there. But I'm being facetious here. But if we don't get down to the nitty gritty and understand real talk, what is happening behind us, then we're going to be gullible. And yeah, you can say, well, Al, they've never done us right. We have not been done right since the first black person sold us to some other black folks. And then becomes a trade. And whether we are kind, but America could not be America without our footprint on it. And I believe that we're at a place where we're going to actually take over. And I want to talk more about how are we going to rebirth Harlem that is black. I got a plan, y'all. Holler at me. Oh,
I was about to say, I thought you wanted to chop it up. I was going to let you rock, baby.
Listen, I am going to be seeking another office here in Harlem. City Council. City Council. I have not officially announced anywhere, but I'm doing all the legwork and understanding. There's some people that say Harlem is 49%, but I don't know where they got those numbers from. But my objective is, how do we grow Harlem black? How do we increase those numbers? So that means if you and your wife have a child and that child is going to school, then they should be able to live here with their children if that's what they want to do. Mm-hmm. And if somebody moves out of Dykeman, or out of Drew Hamilton, or out of St. Nick, out of Grant, then we have to make sure that we match that with another black family and increase with intentionality. If not, we're going to be totally erased out of Central Harlem.
Wow. And Harlem, when you think of Harlem, you just think of the beautiful black and Latin culture that we have. So
and our restaurants.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, before I read the question that Stefania asked, can you just elaborate for people, what is the city council? What would you be doing in the city council different from the assemblyman?
Okay, so the city council is exactly that. So government works city, state, and federal. So there are 3 levels. So on the city level, I would be doing legislation here that would impact the 5 boroughs and not the state as a whole. And the community would be the 9th councilmatic district, which runs roughly from Polo Grounds down to 110th Street. And it will probably go as far west as Convent Avenue and as far east as Lexington.
Is there somebody in that seat now that you'll be running against?
Well, there is someone that's in that seat currently, and there are a few folks that have expressed an interest in that. I won't be running directly against that individual.
They'll be going to something else, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, they're not going nowhere else. They will be going somewhere else. But I'm coming in to bring resources to my community.
You just coming in. You coming in putting foot to derriere. You coming in Al style. Okay, I got it.
I'm coming to work. There are other folks that are interested in it. Assemblywoman Inez Dickens has expressed an interest. Youssef from the Exonerated 5, formerly the Central Park 5, has expressed an interest. And another young man. So I've had conversations with each of them. I sit down and say, listen, I am seriously going to enter into it, but I want to make sure that we're on the same page. And the next one that I come back to you, Bill, if we're able, we'll talk about ranked choice voting.
Yes, please,
in New York City, ranked choice voting says that you go round for round. So let's say 8 of us get in the race. And if you don't, the first person to reach 51% wins. So if I don't get 51% in the next one, in the first round, then the people on the back end, whoever's highest stays in, and then your numbers go over to that person. So it's kind of like first round. And you can make it through the first round and be gone in the second or the third round based on how people listed you. But I'll do a whole educational piece with that. In fact, one of the things that we could probably do, I have to talk to the folks and see if we can bring Nikki on to see if we could do a presentation and talk about what ranked choice voting looks like. This past year was the first time it was done here in New York City.
Oh, absolutely. Let me ask you a question. Al, who's just for my own edification, because I've just drawn a mental blank. Who's the city council person right now in Harlem?
Christian Jordan Richardson, or is it
Okay.
Christian Richard Jordan? I can't
Okay.
remember.
I didn't think it was somebody that I knew from
KRJ,
Yeah.
Christian Richardson Jordan.
Okay. All right. So Stefania has a question.
Bill Perkins.
Yeah. Well, and Bill Perkins, right? No, Bill Perkins.
Yes, she replaced him.
Yes, due to health, right? Okay. So Stefania asks a question. She says, "So guys, if it's a red sweep at the polls, what do you think will happen?" I think we kind of touched it a little earlier, but we'll reiterate it. Go ahead, let Al touch that. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's for you or me, Bill?
No, you, brother. You're more astute in politics than I am.
Well, what's her name? I'm sorry.
Stefania.
That's a great question. I remember the night that the election night that Trump won, and I was in a restaurant uptown, and we were watching the results, come in, and of course you were hoping that he would actually lose, but it got closer and closer, and it became a point where it's undeniable. And so people in the room were shook. People were crying. I'm like, I got my little self up, straighten my bow tie. And I was like, I got to go to work in the morning. It don't much matter to me at this point. It is what it is. So I refuse to allow that narrative to control my life, because my God is greater than anything that's out here. So it gives me peace. It gives me joy. And he reminds me that the work is still at hand in front of us to do. So you just get up and say, okay, now what are we doing? Are we going to go out and start registering some new voters? Get young people involved in the process. And then so it don't matter. It doesn't matter. The fact that a lot of people believe that. And I think, Bill, you referenced this earlier, when you look and you say, well, is this the best and this is all we have to vote for? And people started to feel that way about Hillary and about Trump. There was whatever, we don't care. And then it was like, we don't give everybody else a chance. Let's give him a chance. He sounded like he could be sincere. That man was out his damn mind. But nonetheless, life goes on. There's a text and it says, this too shall pass. So to her answer is like, yo, you just got to get up and keep doing what you do, so that we don't have a repeat of this. But be encouraged.
What's so funny, Al, and you said something, and I will say something, because it's so funny how you said it's like, is this the best that we have? I think a lot of times, and we hear about these, and I'm gonna say this with all due respect, these old names that kind of go around from seat to seats and stuff like that. Beautiful people, you know what I'm saying? But it's almost like, well, what have you done lately? You know what I'm trying to say?
Like, no apologies. Keep it 100, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, like, and I get it. Maybe this is just your livelihood, and this is what it is. But and we as people, we get stuck on a name, and once we get that name, it's embedded in our head, especially the old guards. And when I say old guards, I'm just talking about the people that really will vote, because the young guards don't do that. The young seniors don't do that. So
go ahead, boy, talk.
You know what I'm saying? They're going to go out and vote for those people that those names sound familiar. You know what I'm trying to say? It happens all the time, even with elections in my building for the board. Listen, I'm winning because I'm a dinosaur in the building. Yeah. So, but I'm still active, and I'm still making calls and making things move. If there isn't anybody that can say I did something for me that they didn't get it, same thing. You know what I'm trying to say? So I mean, with that being said, a lot of times we have to get this new generation out here and vote, which is a problem because they don't care. And I'm tired of these, and I'm saying this to the young generation. Get off the corner, and I'm talking figuratively, not literally. Some maybe might be literal, like and go and vote. And if the thing is, if you don't want to vote, then you be a part of the solution. You run your ass for office, and if you think you can do something, get your punk ass out there and do something. Because the bottom line is, sitting on the corner, and I'm just using this narrative, sitting on the corner, drinking a 40, talking smack, smoking a blunt. It's not making this world better.
Word.
You know what I'm saying? So please, that's why this whole show for me right now tonight is not who you want to vote for. It's just go out there and vote. Because the bottom line is, I don't talk to people that didn't vote. You can't talk to politics to me if you didn't vote.
Yep.
That's like, how you gonna tell me how to fight if you ain't never fought anybody? Yeah. You can't tell me anything. You know what I'm saying? Just run. Run, Forrest, run. So I get it. But we have to understand, everybody, please. We're not going to be on here too long. I'm gonna let Al say something, but I have a question that I want to ask Al and Wendy, and I want to get their opinion on this before we shift it. I'm going to shift the narrative a little bit, but as long as we have them, I just want to say this. I appreciate everybody chiming in on YouTube. This is where we are. You can find us, share it, subscribe to it. You know, I may have put the post on Facebook. You can see it, but YouTube is where we are. And let's keep it strong, because the numbers are definitely growing every damn day, because after numbers are even getting better. So I appreciate you all. Al, appreciate you. And we're here Mondays and Wednesdays. Sometimes I've been skipping days because I want to come and make sure I give you good content. I can come over here. Anybody knows I can talk, but I just don't want to come and talk just to be talking. I want to talk and have something to say. But there's something real big that's going on in the world. Oh, and for anybody that don't know, my church lost our pastor, Dr. Reverend Calvin Otis Butts III. Rest in peace to him, his family. It was in the prayers. Today is his son's birthday, so I know it must have been hard for him to bury his father a few days ago, and then try to have some kind of celebratory situation. But I'm sure he knows his father is not suffering anymore in that regards to fighting that cancer. That's another thing. Please go get yourself checked out. Al, segueing into this, health is very important. What's going on will it deviate either way, red or blue, in regards to health and healthcare? I know we're talking about Social Security. Maybe you might elaborate a little bit on that, because people are talking about Social Security, but healthcare, will the Republicans try to take that away from the people of color that can't afford it, or is it blue?
I think that we have to be careful about some of the things that are happening. So, for example, under Biden's administration, they leveled the playing field. So now the people that have to take insulin, is now affordable for them, and it's covered in most of your health coverage. So it's little things like that that make a big difference.
God bless you. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So their position is theoretically, in the practices, how do we get government out of business? In a sense, let's reduce the number of people in government. Let's leave more stuff up to private practice. So you can look over and say, okay, they've walked back a few things. Now they're trying to walk back. Oh goodness, what do we call it? When you have to make sure that you have a certain amount of minorities, you have to have set-asides in these schools. So the Supreme Court may walk that back. So, Harvard or Columbia or any one of these institutions will no longer ask what your nationality is, because they're not concerned with having a quota of males, females, black, white, or anything. If they can annihilate that, we're on the outside. So right now, they've been on a fast track to walk back mostly all the civil rights gains that there are. And remember, the right to vote is not a right; it's an amendment. They can walk that back. And so, in some places where you have, as I said earlier, you have you have states where if you've received a felony, you can't vote in that state. Period. Yeah. And some places you can't vote without identification.
There were some places they were arresting people for voting and stuff like that had felonies. So I don't know if and I don't know if you or Wendy know what New York State is if you have a felony or it's 7 years, you can still vote. Right?
So as long as you have finished your time, you're able to vote. So honestly, if you're sitting in Rikers right now and you have not been convicted of a crime, you can vote. Right? Because you have not been found guilty. You have not gone to trial yet. You're there. So you can use an absentee ballot if somebody can get it to you.
Yeah, that's deep. Everybody understand that. I don't know what's happening. Vanessa, I think you're in Atlanta, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. What's going on? What are you hearing before the polls? I mean, the polls tomorrow. Last thing I heard that they were Walnut and Walker were kind of like neck and neck. It's similar to out here in Pennsylvania and with Oz and Fetterman. Vanessa says, I think what's so discouraging on the election process was Trump was the electoral college in electoral college in this process. Yes, he was. Rochelle said, "Hey, Sister Wendy." So it's something that's crazy. I wish my other people are from Atlanta. I mean, not Atlanta, North Carolina. I just wanted to see where everybody was at because, voting is different. I don't know what's going on in Pennsylvania. If anybody is from PA can chime in. We're not going to be on too long more. I just wanted to find out what people's thoughts were, what's going to persuade you to, well, hopefully you're going to the polls anyway, but what's going to sway you, what's going to be your concerning deciding factors, if it's going to be crime, Roe versus Wade, funding, migrants, what's going to deter you or motivate you to vote. With that being said, I want to get you two opinion on something. There's a big thing with Kyrie and Ye. Because this is real talk, we talk about everything. We're not going to stay too long. Give a little another 10 minutes on this. They're definitely coming at the Jewish community. And I'm asking anybody out there, whether you agree or disagree, you have the right to feel whatever you feel. It seems like Ye came a little different than Kyrie. Kyrie posted something that was easy to find, accessible to. You can go to Amazon, you can find it, and then put it on there, right? Ye started kicking it, but it seems like these two people now. You can listen to old Malcolm X speeches, and he's spoken about this, and other people that have spoken up. Whether you agree with them or not, we all know who the powers be. We all know who runs the world. We're not disputing that. But my question to you all is, what's your okay, Vanessa, you're in Florida. I'm in Florida now, but Womack is the better candidate. I know that the majority are promoting Walnut, but watch the election process in Georgia for sabotage. Absolutely. That's what I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to get both of your opinion on what you feel about this whole situation. Whether you agree, disagree, because right now everybody is jumping more backing Kyrie because they felt like he apologized. They're not holding Jeff Bezos accountable because the video is still on Amazon and nobody's holding him. So basically Kyrie is saying, well, listen, I got it from there. Why aren't you, what I'm saying? Like people are saying, won't you get mad at him? You get mad at me for saying we all know it's different narratives to how he said it and what he said. I get it. But they just felt like if I pull something up and a video of a girl twerking, I must be pro twerk. You know what I'm trying to say? So I get it. I just wanted to get your opinion on it, because it's hot topic, not that it's neither nor. And I'll start with you, Wendy, and then I'll finish with that.
No, I have a lot to say about that. Well, one thing, as far as he's concerned, right? There are a lot of mental health issues, and I think this is not a time for us to, it's really easy, it seems, when a Black man says anything to persecute him and cancel him, right? So Kyrie, for example, where did he get the book? And why is Jeff Bezos not being at all put under the microscope? Because he's selling this. So it's okay to put it out there, but it's not okay to read it. What's the message that we're getting here? And so it's not okay to persecute any peoples, right? We are all entitled to live freely and without hate. But at the same time, when things like this happen, it makes a lot of our people question, but wait, why isn't the playing field even here? Why is Bezos getting away with selling something and then this dude gets in trouble for putting it out there?
Right.
So that's my opinion on that.
I appreciate that. Al, what's your take, brother? And we can just stay strictly on that topic, Al, because like I said, I'm not asking anybody here to definitely denounce we're not talking hate anything here.
No, absolutely. It's a more of a deep dive of exploring. I did not have the backstory that you guys just shared. I didn't know where it came from.
Right.
I think the blowback for Irving was, yeah, but people wanted him to do it sooner. I'm not sure. I was unaware of where the book was marketed, or even the name of the book for the most part. But when you look at it, he apologized.
Right.
He should be on his way to something else, doing it. But there are people, depending on who you're listening to, that would say he said it too late, or he should have never said it. And when people pick sides, or they have a bone.
Let me just interject, Al. I think what he did say, he was more or less like, come on, why should I apologize? I didn't write the book. You know what I'm saying? He's like, yo, I just posted it kind of thing. And you know what's so funny? This is where well, I don't like the way you said it kind of thing.
No question.
And like I said, I'm not saying he's right or he's wrong. But the thing is, when you talk about silencing somebody, and sometimes when you look at the powers that be, first and foremost, Kyrie and Ye kind of have enough money to try to battle that weather that storm. I don't think the Owls, the Wendy's, and the Bills got that kind of paper to play. So we're going to definitely posture ourselves, and we're not going to be sacrificial lambs to the.
No,
to
absolutely.
That.
I've only caught it in like blurbs.
Right.
I saw the game, part of the game, and there were people there that was saying something about tolerance. There were some Jewish folks sitting on the front, and they had T-shirts. And I was like, I wonder what that's about. That's how far off base I was. Then when I saw it, I said, oh, okay, it makes sense. I understand both sides of the scenario. I would say it's definitely unfortunate.
Right.
It is unfortunate.
I'm going to read some more comments that's going about the politics, but I'm just going to say this for my own personal feelings. I wish people would stand up from all ethnicities and speak out on us getting rid of the N-word and people of color, black and brown people, doing more for ourselves. And you know what I'm saying? And because the bottom line is, if people, as they are speaking up for the Jewish community, which they have a right to, if they spoke up for the hate against people of color, and of course, I always talk people of color, brown and black people, then the world will be a better place. But nobody's speaking up for what's happening to black people and Latin people in this world. I mean, about just equality, and just from all spectrums of the life. That's my wish on this, from this topic. I hope that would happen. Go ahead, Wendy. You want to say something before I read?
I think it opens up the conversation.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, Bill, as you mentioned, it's just, we can't give up. And no matter what happens, we're going to get pushback. So in order to get back to where he was before, for example, Kyrie has to jump through hoops and, crawl through mud. The Nets have given him a 6-point checklist that he has to complete in order to get back.
That's crazy, right?
At the same time, we also have Elon Musk, who just bought Twitter and has allowed, and you've seen that, right? You've seen that. People have gone off the rails with the N-word. They are so happy. They're saying all kinds of things, and they're breeding that hate against Black people.
Yes. So how do you have freedom of speech? And then Twitter went up 500% on the N-word because he's promoting freedom of speech. But then these two gentlemen say something, whether you agree or disagree, and they get canceled. Something to think about, everybody. Let me just read some comments, and we're gonna let Al and Wendy answer them, and then we'll get out of here. Vanessa says, no, Vivian, and this is the thing. They just had recently another death on Rikers, the 18th inmate this year. I don't know what's going on with Rikers. We're going to have to get some correction officers or some former correction people on here to talk about what would they want to do and change in lieu of that. But Vivian asks a good question, Al. She says, are the people being held in Rikers Island told that they can vote with the absentee ballot? Are those ballots accessible to them?
They could be. They're probably on a small percentage. I don't know that offhand, but they are entitled to vote. And I don't know if anybody is in there doing that. So, for example, an absentee ballot, I can bring you a form that says I want this, right? And I want my ballot sent wherever. And that ballot can go to my house, but then somebody from my house or my home address that's related to where I'm registered will have to get that ballot to me. But the system doesn't mail into Rikers with ballots at this point, or absolutely. But the person can request one.
Thank you, because I'm going to reach out. Yeah, Vivian, I'm going to reach out to some people and ask that question. And Wednesday, I think I'm by myself unless anybody else joins in with me. We can talk more extensively about the Kyrie Ye situation for those that really want to delve deep in that. I just wanted to get Al and Wendy's perspective on this, because the bottom line is, as you start hearing things go along, you start saying, well, wait a minute now. You know, the one thing everybody's saying, it's on Amazon and you can go get the shit right now yourself and you can watch it. So, you know what I'm saying? Vanessa says, I'm in Florida now, but Womack is the better candidate. I know the majority are promoting Womack, but watch the election process in Georgia for sabotage. Absolutely. She also says there was so much chaos undermining the integrity of the process the last time. Yeah, you know, we gotta be very careful with Georgia. You know what I'm saying? What they're talking about. Vivian Garcia said, exactly, Wendy. Different strokes for different folks. Yes, we're all standing together. You know, I mean, listen, it's so funny what we pick our battles for. Stefania says something that I didn't know. She said that's because the NBA is in talks with Amazon to create a streaming platform. Make me slide back a little bit.
With the money.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. We might have to, after I get off, I might have to play the OJs for the color of money, backstabbers. You know what I'm saying? She also states, and I'm started to watch the documentary. I have yet to see where it's anti-Semitic. Oh, wow. So you got into that. So, you know, I was thinking about doing that, Stefania, but I did not want to add credence to that documentary. Maybe because I don't, whomever this person that wrote it, I don't want to give them any kudos on this. I don't want their ratings to go up. So but I understand. I was very curious about to see what was on it to find out if I agreed or disagreed. You know what I'm saying? But please give me your take on it. I've heard some people that have told me that they saw it and there's a different narrative, like there's some falsehood to it and there's some truth to it. But please keep me alert. And then she says, apparently it's anti-Semitic to say that Black people are the original Hebrews, which we are. So I guess that's becoming a problem in that documentary too. She says, so what's the problem exactly? Very good point. Vanessa said, you are spot on. We are, you know. Vera with the wonderful last name, Forster. She said, officers at Rikers Island is currently working 12 to 16-hour shifts. Yo, Al, let me just ask you that, say this. It seems like Rikers, the correction facility, the correction union and stuff like that, it's almost like a stepchild right now. You know, we hear about the problems, we hear about the long working hours. I don't know. I know we have a new commissioner. I think is a female commissioner, right? I mean, what are you hearing closer to the streets? I haven't reached out to anybody to find out what's happening with that. But what are you hearing about what's going on with corrections? If you know anything, if you're not, then I got it.
In my last conversation on that subject, we were talking not only hearing from guards at Rikers, but some of the Black ones that are union. We spoke to, I was on a visit there a few months ago, maybe at the top of the year, I can't remember exactly. But then there was also a meeting with parole officers and talking about the process. And there needs to be, and this is just on a flashback, there seemed to be a lack of cohesiveness on what we implemented on the law part, what's being taken place. And sometimes individuals that have parolees or probation, whichever the one it was, I can't remember, are not able to keep up with them because they're moving through the system without their knowledge. So, for example, in the conversation we had, I think it was Senator Cordell Clear, Senator Jackson, was it PEP? Members from PEP, which is the union, and they were talking about how cases are moving around them, and they didn't have the means to track. And theoretically, and I hope I'm not mixing it, but you would say, here's an individual that should have been talking to me or gone through a couple of more bells and whistles before he hit the street or she hit the street, and they hit the street, and we're not accountable to them and they're not accountable to us. So there's no oversight. So that was one of the conversations that was happening on the parole side. The person that was in charge of Rikers when we were there has since been replaced. And when I was there, what's the number now? 18 deaths at Rikers?
18.
So when I was there, it was on the morning of the death of probably the 12th or 13th person, something like that. And we were there and did not know an individual had passed until that night or the next morning when it had hit the news. There was also, I think the program is called Exodus. They're there to work with youth and work. And this is former incarcerated people. Their contract had to be severed because members of that group had been taking drugs into the facility.
Right.
So they had to smash that. So there are a lot of moving parts there. I don't think there's a one and done response. My visual of what I saw there was an atrocity. I mean, you had cats, like, I don't know, 30 cats in a cell just standing around, man. Like, it reminded me of something out of New Jack City, where they all huddled together. It's not a good look. It's not a good look, but this was before the current person, so I'm not sure where they were at. I did make a recommendation that there should be a team that sits outside of Rikers, and one of these cure violence groups or someone that's there just to hear what the family and friends are saying as they go in and out. So maybe there's a way of flagging stuff so that some of these deaths have been overdose. Some of them have been suicide and not attended, and people actually take their lives in there. So what allows that to happen? We have to look at that. Certainly the correction officers are overworked, underpaid, and almost like the way they did the nurses. If you didn't show up, you could lose your job. So when COVID hit, nurses are working 3 shifts and they didn't have the resources to survive it, but they did it for fear of losing their jobs. And the same thing.
It's so perfect that you said that. I was just about to let you go, but I got you for good 8 minutes. I'm gonna say this. You just talked about losing jobs. What do you think about the situation now that things have been overturned with the COVID, or the civil servants or anybody that has lost their job for not taking the vaccine, that now they're getting their money back and they're getting their jobs back?
Has that happened in court?
I thought it went through. Yes.
So the courts ruled that in favor of them, and they have to be
reinstated. And I believe they get money, whatever money they lost because of it. But I'll look up the exact information.
I was unaware of that. But yeah, I think that's a good look.
Yeah.
A lot of times and a lot of things were happening in fear in science that was constantly changing. If you didn't do this, you had to do that. I know there are officers that have been on the force for a long time and don't want to retire, but they were thinking about it because they were right at that threshold. So if that's news, kudos for those officers, because that means they don't have to take the needle and they don't have to take the shot, and they're not going to lose their jobs, hopefully.
Yeah, I think I know Wendy, I think you was about to say something, but I think I think the false narrative was that everybody drank the Kool-Aid, myself included. Now I know I have pre-existing conditions, so if it's helped me to this point, then listen, I'm glad I took the vaccine, and I'm sure Malika can contest to that for herself, because that pandemic and the COVID is still coming back strong. I just got the information from a few people that I know personally that have COVID. But now when we talk about COVID becomes like a conversation about a cold.
Yeah, it's like the flu.
Yeah, you have pre-existing conditions and it's still going to affect you. So I say all that to say that please be careful. And I think what the government did that messed up, they said you couldn't catch it. You couldn't catch it if you get the vaccine. Instead of saying it is preventive, just like the flu shot. That's where they messed up. So people have a right to say what goes in their body, and it got strong armed. So yes, they said it from the Facebook. I mean, not the Facebook. Excuse me, the YouTubers, the RTCers. That's what I'm going to call you all, unless I call you by name. They said it was ruled by the Supreme Court. Stefania said they were rehired and back pay. It also says it was clear it was just city workers, or it wasn't clear if it was just city workers or just employees overall, which that's very important to find out. So that's something that may be
good news.
Yeah. So what was the last thing I was going to ask you all before I say good night and we all say good night? I think we checked all the bells and whistles. Anything you want to say, Wendy, before we get out of here? And Al, please, give us some closing. Of course, it's all about the vote. Vote.
That's all I have to say. Get out there and vote.
And Malika, would you like to say anything? She just snuck in here.
Hi, Malika.
Hi, great show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vote. Yeah, we will be doing that tomorrow too. Yes. Al, close us out, whatever you possible. Anything that you want to say. Let me just say this before we close out. Everybody, it's the Real Talk Chronicles. Appreciate the love, the YouTube love. Stay with us on YouTube. We're going to rock. We're going to go hard body. Wednesday, I will reiterate and go back into, we can delve into the more Kyrie situation, or what is it like being still held accountable when others are not held accountable. Maybe that's something, maybe that's how I'll posture that conversation, because the bottom line is powers that be are still the powers that be. And I will say this, it takes a strong person. I'll use an Al, I'll use a Wendy, like I'll use a Malika, especially myself, to step out on the front and speak about things that people do not want to talk about. That's why the show is called Real Talk, because that's what we do. And it's called Chronicles because there's more episodes than just one. We will continue. Wednesday, we will definitely go over the voting. Who won, who didn't won, and why do you think they won and lost? So please come by. I don't know, Al, if you're free, maybe Wednesday, we might kind of chop in if you get a few minutes and we can talk about the election or something like that Wednesday. What do you think happened for whomever, good, bad, or different? If you're free. If not, no pressure, no harm, no foul. But I just want to put that out there because you are political analyst to a certain degree. You're more than just that. You're my brother and everything. But
my man.
But you may give us some insight. Vivian said, I voted early. Thank you. God has got it out the way. That's what I'm saying. Stefania said, thank you for a great show. Absolutely. So Al, close us out. Al, I appreciate everybody watching and chiming in. Like I said, we'll definitely see you Wednesday. We're going to chop it up and see what's going on. So Al, close us out. Say whatever you want to say. Positive affirmation, anything. Go ahead, brother.
Thank you, Brother Bill, for sure. This evening, I am participating in the Hip Hop Alliance. It takes place tonight at 7 p.m. I think that's on some West Coast online conference facilitated by KRS-One.
Ooh, the teacher.
And I'm just trying to see if there's a site I can direct people to.
Wendy, put it in the thing if he has it.
They kicked it to me last night, and Curtis Blow hit me again with it today. So
these are the breaks.
Bring it up. Breakdown.
Harlem's own. Listen, man. We are from an era that a lot of our hip hop legends are from our neighborhoods. That's a beautiful thing. So go ahead, Al. I'm sorry.
And what's the name is there? So just to run the list: Board of Directors Curtis Blow, Special Ed Carol at KRS-One Chairman Dr. Bob Lee, Dougie Fresh, Chuck D. I saw last night when I was on, what's her name was on. Oh God, who's your Wednesday nights? Come on, I'm blanking.
Who?
Come on, my girl from Uptown, my singer. She's on with you.
Oh, Allison.
I'm almost sure I saw her on last night.
You probably would. She was the first lady at Def Jam, so she might have definitely a say in that thing. Please tell Doug and a lot of those people the names you said. I said, "What's up, though?" For us,
okay. I'm just trying to find a place to lock people in so they can check it out. But,
yeah, please.
Oh, wait a minute. I just saw something. Website. If they go to the website, hiphopalliance.org.
hiphopalliance.org.
That should take folks there.
I love the fact. Okay, you can't. All right. Let's see. I'm gonna have to start making you administrator. Can you write this in for me, baby? You got quick fingers, you know. Let's see. You sent the picture.
I also sent you on your text messages. I sent you this flyer here, and I'll type it into the chat. hiphopalliance.org.
All right. Okay. Yeah, definitely. So yeah.
I'm listening as a moderator on one of these things, so I'm just happy to be there.
Yeah, let them know you're old school, Al. You know, don't bust a rhyme on them, though. I mean,
oh no, I ain't gonna do that, man. That can get ugly real quick.
But you got to get paid for it right now. I always tell people. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, sweetheart. So everybody, listen to Al if you can. Thank you, Vanessa. Great show. I appreciate you all.
Thank you, guys.
Anything? Oh yeah. Besides that, you were still closing out. I apologize. Yeah.
No problem. Listen, we just thank you all so much for joining us. This is Al Taylor with my boy in charge on top of everything, none other than Bill Foster. Real Talk Chronicles. Y'all already know what time it is. Tell somebody else to go vote. I know most people already done. No matter where you at, whatever state you're in, and you got folks up here on the North call and tell them, like, look, girl, I know you ain't laying around and doing that. You got the day off. Go vote. Go. I don't know who to go. Vote. Write your name in, but do not vote.
And that's what I meant to say too. The NBA community canceled all the games so everybody can vote. The NBA is pushing the voting, so that's kudos to them for that.
That's what's good. So we ain't sitting in nobody's arena watching. And the Houston Oilers made sure they shut down Philly, so it's a game over there celebrating a parade. So there's nobody playing baseball. There's no hockey. There's no reason not to go vote. Thank you all so much. God bless you. And most gracious Father, we just give you thanks. Your word declares in all things to give us thanks, Lord. And we don't know what the outcome will be, but Lord, we ask that you will continue to strengthen and encourage your people, that the best is yet to come. And we thank you for this. Amen.
Amen. Everybody, that's Wendy. That's Assemblyman Al Taylor, my co-host.
That's Bill Foster.
That's it. And that's Malika Foster in the back.
Malika.
Do something. Listen, I will be sitting in front of News One tomorrow watching these numbers come and see what they talk about. I probably will be Oh, look, Wendy, what's that? Oh, shit. Look, Malika.
Listen, she's been crying this whole time by my feet, so I pick her up.
I thought I heard something. I didn't know if you had a squeaky chair or something. I didn't know that was
Lola. Lola's gonna go vote tomorrow too.
Exactly.
Everybody have a great night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Get some sleep, get up early, and go vote.
Like Vivian said, I'm gonna let Vivian's thing be the closing. She said, "Thank you all. People waited online for hours to play Lotto. Take the same energy to go vote."
I'm loving Sister Foster.
Yes,
she's putting it in.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, everybody.
Just in case.
Talk to y'all.